everybody. Thanks for this opportunity to share some fundamental knowledge on the European Bauhaus, actually on the background and the origins of the Bauhaus movement that led to the development of the European Bauhaus initiative. And my background is in urban design. Therefore, I just, when we're discussing how to organize this thematic working group and this session, I just thought it would be a great opportunity to also make a short introduction. What is it exactly Bauhaus? What is the Bauhaus movement? What do we associate it with? So that we have a better understanding then of the actual initiative that we are going to work on in the next couple of years during the lifetime of the project. It's not changing. Do you see the next slide already?
Yes.
Okay, I'll have to, obviously my keyboard is not working right now. Yes, the Bauhaus movement. It is, as a matter of fact, when we hear Bauhaus, it's not just a construction supermarket as in some countries it's known. It's, as a matter of fact, an art movement, it's style, it's history. And Bauhaus is a synonym of modernism and artistic ingenuity. What is it best known for is the fact that it brought, in a revolutionary manner, the arts and crafts together. And this led to completely new endeavors in the fields in closely related fields such as architecture, furniture, textile, design of everyday life objects. And as you can see here in this reproduction of the Bauhaus design, it really spread its influence over several different fields of art, and it touches us in all its everyday life facets, from architecture to furniture to objects to typography to the design how we see books and and illustrations nowadays. Bauhaus styles is a design that's always often seen as abstract, angular, geometric with little ornamentation. This is really what it makes so specific and so unique. And it needs to be understood very clearly that it became so influential because of the time in which it was actually created. And oops, it's not, sorry, but it's not changing, and I have this now there. As a matter of fact, it was created and established in the beginning of the 20th century, 1919. And only 5 years ago, we celebrated 100 years of the Bauhaus movement worldwide. It was a huge event that it was a huge celebration, this 100th anniversary of the Bauhaus movement, because this artistic style, this new understanding of design, fundamentally influenced our architecture and our artistic world in the last 100 years. And therefore, it's not a big surprise that only a year later, in 2020, the president of the European Commission announced the introduction of the European Bauhaus initiative. There was a really good preparation of this understanding of what Bauhaus is in the year before, because as I said, this anniversary was really this anniversary was celebrated all over the globe. Films were created that again captured what the spirit of the Bauhaus movement and artistic style was. There were new editions of books summarizing the most important references of this movement. So all literature is there. Internet is full of information. And here today, the idea is just to get ourselves on the same page on what really the Bauhaus spirit is and what really the Bauhaus movement is. How long do you actually think that the Bauhaus movement existed? Is there someone who has an idea? We're talking now of 100 years anniversary, such really the century that this style still seems so influential. But as a matter of fact, it lasted only 14 years. And these 14 years of existence, as I already several times said, are fundamentally changed the world of design, the world of everyday life objects, and as we know it. It had tremendous influence on both art and mass production, because becoming the cradle of modern design, uniting arts and crafts, the Bauhaus movement also had the goal to create mass products that are aesthetic and that really bring in new understanding, a radical new understanding of how we live and how we arrange our surroundings. They wanted to separate from the traditional, excessive artistic styles that were known back then. There was the spirit and need of really creating something new, something more simple, something clear that left space for new ideas and creativity. And during that time, the Bauhaus movement, as a matter of fact, created really a long list of well-known influential artists, and we're going to have a look on some of them in a few minutes. All the time I'm talking about the design, style, movement, but as a matter of fact, what was exactly the Bauhaus? It was a school. That's how it's managed to, that's how it was established in order to be able to create and transfer those new ideas through teaching, through bringing together young students who are willing to get themselves on a new type of journey. The Bauhaus school was founded by the modernist architect Walter Gropius in 1919 in the city of Weimar, which was back then the Weimar Republic of Germany. And he had already very good PR reputation, but he had a very clear vision. His goal was to lead the school that approached art comprehensively. Instead of having one school for painting, another for sculpture, and another for architecture, Gropius wanted to bring all of these media under the same roof so that they could inform each other. So there was the art and crafts, there was the experimental space that he created, and out of this experimental space, a community of designers and apprentices of craftsmen emerged. But what is most important, as a matter of fact, design, as we know it nowadays, was established as a separate field of study. Design that combines traditional art education with architecture, with textiles, with theater, typography, everything was in there, the whole spirit was there, and out of the spirit, all these separate separate disciplines could be developed, separate sub-design disciplines. So that is, as a matter of fact, nowadays we really can say this avant-garde spirit was the most influential one that we had in the 20th century when it comes to design. And what Walter Gropius himself says is that his guiding principle was that design was neither an intellectual nor a material affair, but simply an integral part of the stuff of life necessary for everyone in a civilized society. So with this very clear vision, the school set on, and it actually did not only the first couple of years were spent in Weimar. The School of Arts and Crafts that was established in 1919 remained in Weimar until 1925 because the climate was changing, and due to political reasons, the school was seen as kind of a threat. This liberal thinking, this free spirit that was coming there, the dangerous ideas also to some extent related also to some accusations of communist ideas, they were, all this had a negative impact on the leading political elite, and they said they saw that school as a threat. Walter Gropius, the only way to actually to set some stones in the way of the school was, of course, by cutting budget, and this happened. And Walter Gropius saw himself in the position that he had to look for new opportunities and new funding. And the next door opened in the city of Dessau, which was back then an industrial city, willing to seeing a great opportunity of working together with these young designers that wanted to transform the industrial design. And they invited the city of Dessau, as a matter of fact, invited the school to move there and offered funding. And that's where the very iconic building of the Bauhaus schools in Dessau was built. It was designed by Walter Gropius, and was the place where the place that nowadays we know as the Bauhaus School. I'm going to show it in a second on the next slide. But just to finish the story of this school, while the focus of the Dessau stage was on functionalism, industrial design, and mass production, it sets really the style to the mass production design level, mass production and industrial design level that we know nowadays. And this is really like the golden age of this school. Unfortunately, due to the fact that the Nazi Party was becoming more powerful, also in Dessau, it was impossible to continue the work of the school, and funding was completely cut. And the very last year of the school, before it was completely closed in 1933, was spent as a private academy. And one of the teachers, one of the former students, of the Bauhaus school, the architect Ludwig Mies van der Rohe, took the lead. And he really had really tough time to keep the school running with the students that were left. But at the end, it had to be closed. However, what he says, what the last director of the school says, only an idea has the power to spread as widely, and that's exactly what happened. A great majority of the students and the teachers of the Bauhaus school actually fled Germany at the beginning of the 30s and of the 20th century, and went to the US and to other places in the world. And that's how the Bauhaus idea really spread internationally. That's actually, this was seen from that perspective, quite a lucky stone of the school, that this style had managed to get a completely new stage of popularity and of influence. This is the Bauhaus School in Dessau. with the iconic building of Walter Gropius. You can see here it's functionalism, it's very clear, it's no ornamentation. You need to imagine this at the beginning of the 20th century when all the buildings are, surrounding it were with wood ornaments. There was the Baroque and Renaissance style, and what's the word in English? Everything was created in a completely different way. And this type of building that nowadays it's absolutely normal, we see it every day and everywhere, it was a completely new type of constructing and creating space for work, studying, and living. And when I say living, for example, this was the house where the masters of the Bauhaus school lived, because the school was created in a way that teachers were themselves seen as masters, and they were educating the students to become masters. And they all lived together in order to keep the spirit. Well, the teachers, the guest teachers, and the ones who were invited to teach at the school lived in this type of buildings in the campus of the school. And the furniture, the design inside, everything was created by them. So they actually lived their own vision. Something about the kid artists. Who are the greatest representatives of this movement? Of course, Walter Gropius is director and one of the leading architects. And the list that you see here is absolutely non-exhaustive. There are many more, but this is just to have an idea which are the names associated with the Bauhaus movement. There is, for example, Paul Klee, who is best remembered for his abstract symbolic art, his playful imagination, and his profound impact on modern art through the use of color and form in an innovative way. He was actually the master teacher in color, and he's nowadays actually very important. He used the time working as a teacher at the school to write some of the most influential pieces of theory in the modern art movement, writings on form and design theory. This is another piece of Paul Klee, the Senecio, which is also quite well known. I guess you have seen it. His work utilized Cubism, Surrealism, and Modernism. Another one that's worldwide very well known is Vasily Kandinsky, founder of abstract art and one of the first artists to create purely non-representational paintings. His work and teachings at the Bauhaus included pieces like this one, Yellow, Red, Blue, and they helped shaping the Bauhaus style's emphasis on geometric abstraction and the unity of art and design. Marcel Breuer was, as a matter of fact, a student first, and later he became teacher, and he's most famous for his innovative modern furniture designs, particularly the Vasily chair, which he created in 1925, and the Cheska chair are two designs that are iconic and quite very well known. And if you Google for these chairs, you'll be surprised of how eager are they to be found and to be bought. There is also a female representative. There's Annie Albers, who was textile artist, who spearheaded the movement's idea of mixing function and art. She worked with textile and brought this woven art to a new to become a well-esteemed field of arts as well. it was a completely new approach to this, how to create textiles with completely new patterns that are corresponding to Bauhaus style. Another very famous artist is Marion Brandt, who was a sculptor, photographer. She was also a metalsmith and designer who created the iconic teapot that's known as one of the objects of the Bauhaus style. You can see it's again of abstract forms, and the use of silver metal, how she wanted to create something that would definitely, remind we are in the industrial times and there is new aesthetic there. It was later mass-produced. At the beginning it was crafted by hand, but later then mass-produced. So, what is actually the legacy of the Bauhaus? I think the most important thing is to understand that, and what is relevant to the idea of the European Bauhaus, is that Bauhaus was not just a style, an artistic movement. It was a solution to the social problems of the times back then. And as a matter of fact, a lot of those problems are still relevant today. It had this radical approach to how to change the way of thinking. First, it had this pioneering vision behind it. It combined the indication of arts, and which were considered elite back then, with the crafts, something done for the first time in the world. I mean, the combination was done for the first time in the world, and introduced this new field of study, design as we know it nowadays. The curriculum that this school had was also this very strong innovative idea, which made everything to fit together and to work together. Bauhaus focused on the mass production of goods and how design could help everyday life. It was done to add soul to manufactured products and add social relevance to the arts. It rejected ornamentation in favor of prioritizing function first. And there is this famous saying in architecture, forms follows function. It's first the function, after that comes the whole aesthetic, but it has to have still its own power, the aesthetics. And the Bauhaus was not just a physical college, it was a school of thought. It was synonymous with the free-spirited and the avant-garde. And the fact that there was this, let's do together something in a new way. It was a place where teachers and students worked together and were learning from each other. Not only one direction, teachers to students, but also through the work with the students, teachers were getting new insights. And of course, the founders and the directors' vision of this school were the major drivers for this change. What's in there from the 100 years Bauhaus movement to actually for the European Bauhaus? Why did the Commission decide to call this new initiative the new European Bauhaus? Just like the Bauhaus movement back then, 100 years ago, was trying to address the challenges of its time, the fact that the industrial times, the fact that people were had a completely new organization of life through the fact that everything was becoming more and more industrial, and they wanted to also to set apart from the hierarchical and traditional structures. In the concept of nowadays, we hit the new challenges. We're talking about climate change, pollution, digitalization, and demographic explosion. And this is the fundamental of the European Green Deal, which was initiated with this program period, which is in the foundation also of the European Bauhaus. The fact that we need to deal with climate change and pollution nowadays has to go hand in hand with aesthetics and the fact that we need a new way of thinking, new way of doing things, a new way of bringing design with sustainability together. And that's what we are aiming for. Thank you.
Emiliya,